Have you ever wondered if there is a faster way to build muscle with calisthenics? Well, after doing more than 1,700 workouts and gaining up to 90 pounds of muscle in the process, I discovered a style of calisthenics training that changed everything. It builds muscle quickly, it saves you time, and it's very easy to track. So to help you make your calisthenics workouts 10 times more effective, here are some very crucial lessons that will help you do just that. Chapter number 1, and that's going to be limited equipment. Most calisthenics athletes already deal with limited equipment, but if you're the type of guy who are training calisthenics in the gym right now, this is not a bad thing. But I just want to inform you something that I have learned in my 7-year journey, and that is that less equipment usually is going to make you more gains. Now, there are 3 main reasons for this, and I'm going to get into those 3 reasons right now, and this is something that you should pay close attention to and actually add into your routine so that you can see more gains. Number 1, it makes you more creative. So we all know that calisthenics breeds creativity, right? So if you have been doing calisthenics, you probably realize that most exercises, if you want to make them difficult, you're gonna have to be pretty creative when it comes to how you are doing them, how you actually change up the variation, and how to change up the speed, how to actually make an exercise more difficult over time to gain more muscle with it, right? But that is even gonna be pushed further and further and further if you have less equipment in your possession. And if you are following this video so far, I believe that you are actually a serious individual for my Jacked by Calisthenics Blueprint program. This is the program that I use myself and that other people are using as of right now to be able to gain muscle within 6 months. So if you want to go from skinny to jacked within 6 months time, go to the top link in the description and every single detail will be laid out in there. And this is actually where you're going to be learning everything and how to implement it properly that I'm teaching you in this video. So back in the day when I used to go to the gym, I used to have everything. Everything in that gym I used to use basically. Not everything of course, but I used to use a lot of things. I used to use a lot of things for my chest days, for my back days, for my arm days. I used to use a lot of equipment, a lot of machines, different sorts of bands so that I can do all types of calisthenics variations. But the moment 3 months ago, when I quit my gym membership and I started only training in my backyard, I actually gained more muscle than ever. Now, why is this? That is because I had less to deal with. So I had to get creative to go from easy variation to moderate variation to hard variation. And this took a lot of thinking and a lot of time to actually understand. But guess what? In that process of thinking and understanding and knowing how to actually progress properly, I gained more muscle than I was doing in the gym, because the problem that I was running into in the gym is that I was actually preventing myself from building muscle. Now, how could that possibly be true in the gym, right? Well, let me go and get into it. In the gym, you have everything to your access, as I already said. Now, what does that do? It makes you switch from routine and exercise selection constantly. And this is something that happened to me. Every single time I stepped into the gym, I just saw new opportunities of doing things, which is of course not a bad thing. It's good to actually want to progress and do new things and find new things out. But if you are trying to build muscle and you're constantly switching from routine and switching from exercise that you are doing, it's going to be pretty hard to progress and build muscle over time. You're playing the short-term game. I'm playing the long-term game. The long-term game is basically sticking to a certain routine and sticking to it and not doing anything else. And it's not bad to sometimes switch it up here and there if you feel like you need to, but the main idea of your routine should stay the same. If that is not the same, then you're not going to be seeing the fastest results that you could see, because you have a lot of potential, and most people have the most potential when they have less in their possession. Second thing it actually does, it makes you able to stay focused. As I just said, if you're having everything in your accessibility, right, and you go from exercise to exercise, routine to routine, this variation to that variation, it's going to be really hard to stay focused on one routine. You're going to switch it up constantly. So when you train, for example, at home, or train in a home gym, or train in a certain gym where they don't really have a lot of equipment, this is where you're really going to be progressing the most, because now you have set yourself on a certain goal, certain routine, certain thing that you need to stick to in order to get to your progression, get to your goals, right? So the less you have, the more results you actually make. And I kind of want to touch back on the variation part and on the creativity part. When you're, for example, doing pull-ups and you're trying to make your pull-ups more difficult, the only thing that you would have to do in calisthenics with less equipment is change up the grip, change up the width of the grip, or actually add some weighted calisthenics in there. Very minimal changes, but you're optimizing it though, even though you're doing minimalist training basically, right? But in the gym, you would actually think of, oh, let me go do that machine and let me go do this machine and a different type of exercise. That is something that you want to avoid at all costs. Now, the third reason why it actually will make you more progress is because less equipment makes you work harder with what you already have. If you've been doing rows for like the longest time, right? And you want to work harder on the rows, you want to do more, you want to be able to get more progression out of your rows. If you're in the gym or if you're in an environment with a lot of equipment, there's most likely going to be a situation where you think, you know what, instead of doing this row, I'm gonna go to that row and do rows on that one. But without you actually knowing that, for example, this row that you're doing right now is not chest supported and the other one is chest supported, so automatically you're in a way different rep range, you can do way more weight, and all of a sudden you're in a very different progression realm, not making progress anymore. That is exactly why if you stick to a certain type of row in a limited equipment environment, for example, the ring row, the dead normal ring row, you need to just change the ring row. You cannot go to a different row. So you might do tuck rows, you might do rows where the rings are more diagonal, right? Where they're actually more stretched. That's all changes that you can make into your routine right now. The most important change that you should make is instead of saying to yourself, fuck it, I'm gonna do everything in my possibility to gain progress. No, pick something that is effective for you, pick something that works for you, pick something that you like, and progress within that. And that's how you're gonna be gaining the most muscle. Now let's go into the second chapter, and that is less is more, which kind of also touches back on the first chapter. And the first lesson that we're gonna talk about is less volume. The power of less volume. Why did I start to see more results with low volume instead of high volume calisthenics? Back in my high volume calisthenics days, where I used to basically do a lot of push-ups, a lot of dips, a lot of reps of every single exercise that I was doing, I was making progress, but not as fast as right now. And that's because of a couple of components, right? First of all, it's because of recovery. Second off, it's because I'm actually controlling the movement and how the muscle is now being worked. And third off, I'm going to failure more often. So let's go back to the first one, my recovery. When I was doing a bunch of reps every single day, my tendons and my joints and my ligaments were actually kind of suffering from it. Because the thing that you got to understand is that muscles recover way quicker than tendons, ligaments, and joints. They take up to weeks, if not months. But on the other side, with the muscles, they can recover like within 2 days, 48 hours or 24 hours, right? So that is exactly why I had to realize that whatever I'm doing right now is not really gonna get me the most progress that I'm looking for. So I started cutting back on the volume, doing less volume, but more quality, so that I was able to recover properly for each and every workout that I was doing. And guess what? This is the moment when I gained the most progress. Now, second thing that I learned, second lesson, is less progression pattern. Right now in my training routine, in my training sessions, I only have a couple of exercises that I do consistently and a couple of ways of progressing with those exercises. So for example, on the pike push-up, the only thing I'm increasing right now is the reps. So that's the only line of progression that I'm in. That's it. When it comes to the pull-ups, the only line of progression that I'm in is increasing the weight. The only line of progression that I'm in with push-ups is increasing the range of motion and the depth. That is it. That is it. So I'm just focusing on certain progression lines, certain progression lanes within each and every exercise. Now you might ask yourself, why don't you just do the same on every single exercise? It makes it even more easy, right? Correct. But the thing is, not every single exercise you do is going to be as strong as other exercises. So for example, my pike push-up, the reason why I'm only progressing in that with reps is because my pike push-ups are very weak and they're at a very low rep range. So I first need to increase the reps to a reasonable amount before I start to increase other things. When it comes to the push-ups, I do 45 pounds with ring push-ups, right? And I just try to focus on doing the reps better and increasing the reps slightly every now and then. That is my progressive overload pattern with that. And with the pull-ups, I just increase the weight because I have a lot of weight at home that I can use to increase the pull-up, and the variations are already maxed out at what I'm doing. So basically, I've been doing 3 main variations in my pull-ups. My wide grip pull-up, which by the way, I've kind of now also set aside a little bit more for different variations because I've been doing that for quite some time. So I'm doing the wide grip pull-up, the commando pull-up, and the behind the neck pull-up. So those are 3 variations that I've been doing in rotation now. And the wide grip pull-up, I'm going to be swapping it out for the normal pull-up soon again so that I can build back on the normal pull-up again. But you need to have different progressive overload patterns with each and every exercise that actually fits with that exercise and fits with your strength level on that exercise, because in calisthenics, you're not going to be able to pick the weight. The thing that you got to understand is, in weightlifting, you can do dumbbell curls for 12 reps, and you can do, for example, a bench press for 12 reps. The only thing you have to do is adjust the weight on the bench press and the dumbbell so that you can both match them on 12 reps. And then you can use the exact same pattern of progression on both exercises, even though they're completely different. In calisthenics, that is not going to work, because you cannot just decrease the weights of calisthenics, because your body weight is going to stay your body weight. You cannot just cut off an arm and do push-ups with less weight because you now lost an arm. It doesn't work like that. So when you're doing pelican curls and push-ups, your pelican curls are going to be way weaker, because in comparison, the pelican curl is more of a harder exercise for most people for their biceps than the push-ups is for their chest. So you're going to be having to use different progressive overload systems for each and every exercise so that you can actually progress with them. If you're going to be using the same on every single exercise, you're going to be having lagging areas very, very quickly. So the third lesson is, simplicity is going to get you more gains instead of trying to just do everything at once. I see a lot of athletes, not even just calisthenics athletes, just people who train in general, right? But most of the time it's calisthenics athletes, that they have a whole bunch of different goals. They want to achieve the planche, they want to build muscle, they want to gain strength in street lifting, they want to do more muscle ups, they want to do everything. My advice to you is, pick one thing. Listen, my whole YouTube channel, my whole training, the way that I train right now is orientated towards building muscle with calisthenics. That is what I do. That is what I love to do. That is what I'm specializing in as of right now. So I'm assuming if you're watching this channel that is your goal. But the reason why some people are not really making fast progress is because they're trying to learn everything at once. So for right now, pick something in your head, say to yourself, I'm gonna stick to this and not stick to anything else, and that's it. And for the people who actually really also have my goal, so just building muscle with calisthenics, which is the thing that I just promote on this channel the most, go to the top link in the description. Join Jacked by Calisthenics. This is my personal program that I've made for the people who want to go from skinny to jacked within 6 months time with the correct way of calisthenics training, the way that I've been promoting it on this channel. There's hours of exclusive footage in there and full workout routines for you to follow so that you never land in a plateau or never get confused on what to exactly do. So if you want to make that transformation yourself and get results like on the screen that you see right here, go ahead and go to the top link in the description and I'll help you out in there. Chapter number 3, and that's going to be exercises. So let's go into the first lesson, and that's going to be the normal version of a certain compound exercise. It's not going to give you the best results forever. The thing that you got to understand is, compound movements are great in and of itself, but you're gonna have to change them a little bit over time to gain muscle. Listen, I am a torso dominant person. Naturally, my chest and my back just grow way faster than my arms and my shoulders. I'm not limb dominant. So for me, and if you are that person, which is common, by the way, especially for calisthenics athletes, the thing that I want you to do is change your compounds in such a way where you're going to be focusing more on your arms and your shoulders. So if you have been doing decline push-ups for a long ass time, start prioritizing the pike push-ups for once, because now you're going to be building those shoulders up instead of always building your chest. Instead of doing pull-ups every single fucking day, switch it to the chin up. Or do some close grip variation where you emphasize more of that bicep. So you want to be changing the exercises in and of itself to your goal. So if you are limb dominant, so if you have a small chest, small back, but your arms are always kind of naturally just bigger, now you want to be widening up the grip to take out the arms, for example, on the pull-up as well as on the push-up. So use those exercises to build your entire upper body evenly, even if you're having a bunch of genetic small points or a bunch of genetic lagging areas that you want to actually bring up. You need to change the exercise overall and actually make them a little bit different for your lagging areas. Lesson number 2, and that is that the push-up and the pull-up should be always added into your routine a little bit for high frequency and high reps. This is something that I've learned since day number 1. My first ever style of calisthenics was endurance style calisthenics, high rep street workout, right? That is what I used to do for about 4 years straight, 3 years, 4 years straight, until I started getting into more street lifting, heavy weighted calisthenics, and now bodybuilding style, muscle building style calisthenics, being a bodyweight bodybuilder, right? So the reason why I talk about high frequency pull-ups and push-ups into your routine is because it's not only going to build you a little bit more muscle, which we all want, of course, but it's going to help you, allow you to recover quicker. Now, why is that? Because push-ups and pull-ups in the correct way, doing it like a little bit on the side as a supplementary exercises, you're now going to actually put a little bit more blood into that muscle, which is going to be used for recovery, because you're not completely breaking down the muscle. You're just pumping it up with blood. It's like a feeder workout. Back in the day, feeder workouts were so extremely popular in the bodybuilding scene. They used to always talk about, like, you know, if you've had an arm day yesterday, today you're going to be doing some little bicep curls just to pump some blood into it, to feed the muscle more and to help it recover so that they can grow quicker. That's basically what you're doing with push-ups and pull-ups, high frequency, after your, for example, chest and back or arm day. So use that every single day. If that is too hard for you, at least 3 times a week, where you're going to be doing, for example, 30 pull-ups and 50 push-ups a day, or 50 push-ups and or 100 push-ups and 50 pull-ups a day. Just a little feeder workout to get you a good ass pump, but it's not going to be enough to really like break down the muscle. And that is what I want you to add in. This is also going to be helping you with endurance, leaving you with more lung capacity to go to failure with higher reps. Some people are not able to go to higher reps when they're going past 20 reps. I'm able to go to failure in 50 rep range. The reason why is because I know how to properly breathe and do high reps with push-ups or with pull-ups or with any type of other exercise. And that is what I used to do for the longest time. But if you want to actually gain muscle with it, you should use it as a supplementary exercise so that you can build muscle from it while still doing your main workouts. And the third lesson is going to be isolation gets you stronger in your compounds. If you have never done calisthenics isolation, this is your time to start adding it in. Calisthenics isolation is one of those gold mines that most people are just not utilizing. And I don't know why. I mean, I kind of do know why. It's just very difficult to implement. But if you are not used to isolation calisthenics, get into it right now. Start adding some of the pelican curls. Start adding some of the tricep extension with rings. Start adding some of the isolation exercises that you've never seen before, but you're just trying them out just because. The moment you do that, you're actually now going to find out, like, yo, this is leaving my tendons strong as shit. I'm actually becoming very durable for my main lifts, my main workouts. For example, I gave this example earlier in multiple videos where my chin-up was kind of getting weak, right? My main pull-up was strong as shit because I am torso dominant. So the pronated grip was way easier for me than the chin-up grip because I was not using biceps on this one as much. So when I switched to the chin-up, getting my chin over the bar, which is that last range of motion, was very difficult for me. So when I started to add in a little bit of bicep isolation, such as ring bicep curls, or pelican curls, or dumbbell bicep curls, I started to learn how to use my biceps properly, and how I started to gain strength for that last piece of pull-up that I was missing, that I needed to become stronger in the chin-up. So this is something that you can use with every single exercise. Same thing on dips, same thing on squats, same thing on rows, same thing on pull-ups. You should use isolation calisthenics, so isolation exercises, to get stronger in your compounds. Now let's go into the last chapter, and that's chapter number 4, and that's going to be intensity. Now listen, the first lesson of intensity is going to be how to properly train to failure. So the proper way, in my opinion, to train to failure is actually kind of simple. Have a rep goal inside of your mind per exercise. So every single exercise that you're going to do, so for example, push-ups, if you're going to be doing 3 sets of that, I want you to have a rep goal for each and every 3 sets. For example, yesterday I had chest and back. I did my dips first. I said to myself, I'm going to be doing 2 sets of 10 ring dips with 90 pounds. I said, fuck it, I'm going to do 10 reps. I'm going to be pausing at the bottom and slowing also the way down. So it was very difficult for me to actually do that, right? And I knew that I could probably hit 9 realistically, but I said to myself, fuck it, I'm going to do 10. So the moment when you're at 9, you're now not going to just stop. If you didn't have that rep goal, you would probably do that. But because you have that rep goal of hitting 10, you're probably going to go for that 10th rep. And that is probably where you're going to be hitting failure. So you want to be having a rep goal in your mind where you're gonna be setting a goal that is a little bit higher of what you're actually capable of, but you're gonna try it anyways. And by trying it, you're probably gonna hit failure before hitting the rep goal, or you're actually gonna hit it. So if you hit it, that's good. But if you hit failure before it, that's even better. And that's how you learn to train to failure. You wanna be actually learning to train as hard as you fucking can by actually getting sets to failure completely. Then the second one is partial reps, how they should be done properly. Now, a lot of people get partial reps incorrect, especially when it comes to calisthenics. They think that partial reps is just, finishing off my session with like 2 sets of 30 partial push-ups. No. The correct way of doing partial reps is by after you have done a failure set, you're now gonna be doing more partials to get more out of your muscles, to get more gains out of it, right? But the correct way of doing a partial after failure is by trying full reps, but because you already hit failure on your full reps, you're now not gonna be able to do full reps. So it's gonna be turning into a partial rep automatically without even thinking about it. So after you hit failure, for example, on dips, on pull-ups, don't even have the mindset of like, I'm gonna do partials right now. Have the mindset of thinking, I'm gonna try full reps. The moment when you say, okay, I'm now gonna try a full rep, but you didn't get it, let's say you got halfway up, drop yourself down. The moment when you notice that you can't go up no more. After that, do it again, do it again, do it again until you cannot even bend your arms no more. Those are proper partial reps. So if you want to build muscle with partial reps, this is exactly the way to handle that. Then the third lesson is that you should use rings. Ring training will automatically assure you that you're going to be training hard because you're now being forced to stabilize yourself. When you have always been training on regular bars or on the floor, and you're now all of a sudden going to be doing rings, you're now automatically going to train harder because your muscles are stabilizing itself to hold itself up there. So that's already a progressively overloading system, right? So the moment when you switch from normal bars to rings, automatically your muscles are going to be shocked. Automatically. And this is already a intensity technique. Now, once you progress in rings, this is where all the money lies, right? This is where you're going to be gaining the most muscle. This is what I've been doing right now for the past 3 months, and I've never seen as much growth as I'm getting right now. So if you want to actually do that yourself, learn how to go from skinny to jacked with bodybuilding style calisthenics. So becoming a bodyweight bodybuilder, being able to gain muscle with calisthenics reliably every single week. Go to the top link in the description, join the other members, introduce yourself, talk with them, and start gaining muscle. Everything I said in this video is laid out completely in detail in there for you to gain muscle, as well as full training programs to go from skinny to jacked. If that is something that you're interested in, I'll see you inside. And also, watch this video right here because this video is going to be ensuring you that you make even more progress with everything that I just told you right now.